Escapism is a concept that humans are fundamentally addicted to. Immersion in another life through story has existed as long as humans have been alive. It's the founding principle of storytelling, the soul of most art forms, and an idea that has captured the human imagination for technologies to wake you up, but it's also to prove that music is perhaps the most effective art form in drawing emotion from the listener. With just one bar of music, style, pace, tone are quickly communicated to you, but not only do you know the style, you feel it. I don't have to tell you I'm speaking faster for you to know it. That's just how storytelling works. But you already knew all that, so let's change the mood. For the next few moments, listen to the third movement from Ravel's piano suite Miroirs, literally mirrors, composed at the height of French Impressionism in 1905. You don't need to speak Ravel's language to understand what he's conveying. There's water and soft winds and a kind of liquid elegance to the subject as he floats across a shimmering sea. Rather than an emphasis on drama and emotional expression seen in the Romantic era of classical music, Impressionist composers explored atmosphere and tone color to completely transport their audience to the location they sought to recreate. The greatest transporting power in music lies with the style of composition, where the shared goal of escapism converges between both art forms through atmosphere, tone, and mood. Escapism is the shared intention behind all media, after all, and mastery of this concept creates the greatest emotional impact when mixed with other art forms, in this case, film. Music has existed in film longer than dialogue, but only in the past 50 years has this marriage reached its maximum potential. Music is a beauty unmatched by any visual artistry, and capable of emotionally reaching the audience in methods impossible through other art forms. Filmmakers have pioneered this union, but only a select few have mastered the use of music to create an emotional impact. The most powerful tools to achieve this impact have been atmosphere, mood, and tone, the most fundamental elements of escapist art. However, when a director uses music to enhance these elements, the emotion of the film, or the most essential component of any narrative, reaches its utmost power. Atmosphere is the prime example of music's power, and music's impact on it is the most obvious evidence of its enhancement of storytelling. Luca Guadagnino's 2017 film Call Me By Your Name is a masterclass in storytelling through musical atmosphere. Much of Call Me By Your Name's mystique comes from its atmosphere, illustrated by its long-spanning shots, simplistic cinematography, and visual poetry. Throughout, Guadagnino channels the transporting ideals of the French Impressionists, even using the wandering piano of Ravel's Miroirs to give a greater dimension to the characters on screen. Visual poetry can carry a film far into the imagination of an audience, but music is how Guadagnino reaches into your heart.
Mafalda, sai dove Oliver?
Assomiglia a me.
It's been a long, long time since I memorized your face.
It's impossible to break music down to quantify its emotional impact, but perhaps this idea is what makes the atmosphere of Call Me By Your Name so powerful. Call Me By Your Name is a book fundamentally based in love and nostalgia, and thus the film reflects that. However, the director does what the book could not with its atmosphere.
Oh, to see without my eyes. The first time.
When Guadagnino contacted American musician Sufjan Stevens about writing an original song for Call Me By Your Name, Stevens reacted with uncertainty. He says in an interview with Deadline, "I think it's because I'm always a little suspicious of the role of music in cinema. But Luca is an exception because he's one of those rare directors who uses music and sound so fiercely and with such mastery that you cannot imagine the films without the music." Guadagnino's mastery of music is brilliantly displayed in the traveling montage in the film's final act, where Elio experiences the extraordinary radiance of his love for Oliver. When Sufjan Stevens' Mystery of Love begins playing over the montage, the audience is engulfed by the full spectrum of Elio's feelings. Innocence, anticipation, peace, and nostalgia play off of each other in the song, and every chord is intentional in crafting the film's atmosphere.
Mystery of love.
film's final scene, Guadagnino reaches right into the audience's soul with his final long shot in Elio. In fact, Chalamet was directed to listen to the song playing in the final credits during shooting, demonstrating Guadagnino's remarkable attention to atmosphere. Call Me By Your Name is in every sense of the word a beautiful film, and its music complements this beauty perfectly. Guadagnino's mastery of musical atmosphere elevates Call Me By Your Name from a nostalgic summer romance into a long-lost memory of a passionate first love.
Is it a video? Is it a video?
But what happens when beauty or atmosphere are not the intention of the director's use of music? The song playing is one of the most iconic themes of destruction, and the theme of one of the most impactful movies ever made, Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream. The film is scored completely for string quartet, a symbolic representation of the four main characters as they veer towards destruction. In this way, the score of Requiem differs from traditional Hollywood scoring, which often targets moments of catharsis or excitement as music's primary locations, and tells its own story through the tone of its music, and thus the tone of the film. The score of Requiem is a mesmerizing demonstration of tone, beginning with the innocent youth of Ghosts of Things to Come, and following the path of its characters or instruments on every step of their journey through the film. In Ghosts of Things to Come, we hear the cello rumble its warning to the audience, and the drone violins accompany its solemnity with a kind of cold ambiguity, reminiscent of the characters' numbness to their own addictions. The mood is dreamy and hypnotic, but not yet dark. But back to Lux Eterna. During the production of the film's score, composer Clint Mansell randomly paired the famous theme to a particular scene featuring Jennifer Connelly's character. In an interview about the scene, Mansell recalled his shock of watching it for the first time, claiming that it was one of those magical moments where image plus music creates this third element. Mansell's score has now become synonymous with the dark drama genre, and understandably so. In Lux Eterna, the singular musical motif stabs itself into the audience, rooting itself deep into the viewer's consciousness as it connects the pain of the characters to an instantly recognizable melody. Indeed, the piece forms a fourth dimension to the suffering portrayed in the film, perfectly capturing the tone and the music's slow march towards climactic devastation. More than any kind of narrative structure, the musical tone of the film is what stays with the audience, a concept illustrated by the sheer cultural impact that Lux Eterna has had on media and literature. The music of Requiem has haunted audiences ever since its release in 2000, signifying the chilling power of musical tone to a story. Of course, there are an endless amount of soundtracks that elevate their source material to escapist masterpieces, such as practically any Hans Zimmer score, notably Interstellar, or the neo-noir crime drama Drive, which takes a much more minimalist approach to motif writing. On the other hand, Paul Thomas Anderson's Phantom Thread takes a classic maximalist approach, with a lush score that complements the traditional style of the film. However, the most interesting scores are those that exist in the world of their story, and reflect the mood of their themes. The film I'm thinking of might not be the one you imagine on the list of the best soundtracks ever written, and yet it deserves a place among the likes of The Godfather and Lord of the Rings. This is the music of Ridley Scott's 1982 sci-fi classic, Blade Runner. The music of Blade Runner is truly indescribable. It's created with an existential touch, celestial, ancient, yet distinctly human. It's a perfect reflection of the film's dystopian depiction of Los Angeles. Dark, lonely, but strangely romantic. It's the pinnacle of escapist art, and so rich with mood and style that the viewers themselves feels like they are walking the streets of future Los Angeles. Mixed in with Vangelis' synths are influences of classical music, jazz, and contemplative techno, all of which combined form the personality of the film's central figure, Harrison Ford's Deckard. In the score's instrumentation, we hear saxophones, gongs, and of course Vangelis' own CS-80 synthesizer. Together, they establish the tone of a character lost in a world of rich and varying colors, who must come to terms with what it means to be human. In this way, Blade Runner's score breaks the mold and transforms what was to be another science fiction action flick into a world of introspective drama. The film wrestles with identity, morality, and existentialism through the jaded view of the protagonist, but moments of beauty slip through his perception and into the score. France has withstood 200 years of media's evolution through the birth of jazz, R&B, and the hundreds more musical styles born over the last 20 years. It has endured most modern literature and every style of filmmaking, proving to be just as influential to artists today as it was at its height. This kind of music speaks to the pillars of emotional catharsis, the construction of an atmosphere rich enough to fully transport the listener into a world where they are vulnerable. This yearning for escapism has existed as long as humans have been around, and it has only continued through film. Storytellers today are combining film and music to create escapist masterpieces through meticulous attention to atmosphere, mood, and tone. With these elements, directors like Guadagnino are able to craft extraordinary beauty in Call Me by Your Name, Aronofsky to create gripping sequences of horror in Requiem for a Dream, and Ridley Scott to bring monumental pieces of imagination to life in Blade Runner. Year after year, these storytellers become more adept at combining genre and medium to create greater stories with even larger emotional impact. Perhaps someday in the future, artists will see the musical work of today's directors, as we do now of the French Impressionists, although we will forever see the influences of this art reflected in the cinema to come.